When we were younger, my cousin Kevin and I had a tight relationship. But as we grew older, life took place. He remained in our hometown of Spokane, Washington, while I attended an out-of-state college. Our parents used to take us camping during the summer months in the large woodlands that encircled our house. I was therefore overjoyed to get hired in Spokane again. I'd only seen them on holidays for the past few years, so this would be my time to catch up with them. One evening after a few beers, Kevin and I had the bright notion to rent a cabin in the national forest where we had spent so many happy childhood days. He said, "So you're up for it?" "Without a doubt." "I'm pretty sure I can get the next week off work," I enthusiastically asserted. The weeks that followed felt like they would never end as the important day drew near. I could not take my eyes off the large clock hanging on my workplace wall. On Friday, when the hand reached 5 o'clock, I laughed happily. Kevin's truck was ours. He's an avid outdoorsman, but I prefer to live in the city, so he had all the necessary equipment and knowledge to make this trip possible. Kevin is quite knowledgeable with the local flora and fauna, including bears, mountain lions, and other threats. As we left the city, we joked about and spoke about the good old days. I watched with excitement as the urban sprawl gave way to a rough and unforgiving wilderness outside window. I said, "This is going to be great." Towards dusk, we arrived at the cabin. It was far more away than I had anticipated. There was no phone, no electricity, and no running water. And the drive down a private road took close to an hour. Each of us was by ourselves. The sun was setting as Kevin and I finished unloading the vehicle. "I say we call it a night now so we can get an early start tomorrow," I said. "I agreed, you read my mind," said Kevin. As soon as my head touched the pillow, I went to sleep. A gorgeous sunrise welcomed us as we awoke at the crack of dawn. We headed out right away, eager to explore the many trails in the region. I exclaimed, "This place is amazing." Kevin said, "Yeah, it's great." But there was something strange about the way he spoke. It was a dearth of enthusiasm. I pondered why things had changed when Kevin seemed just as excited about this vacation as I was. I said, "You all right, man?" With worry in his eyes, he trailed off, "I'm fine, it's just..." "What is it?" I nudged. "Last night, I heard strange noises outside the cabin. Most likely, it was nothing," he remarked. I said, "Maybe it was just an animal." "Yes, that had to have been. Don't stress over it." For the remainder of the day, we kept investigating the paths. Kevin wouldn't acknowledge it, but I could tell he was still nervous about whatever he had heard the previous night when I was asleep. I felt concerned by his anxiety because he is aware of the sounds made by animals. We were worn out from the day's events as the sun started to drop. While Kevin went to fetch something from the truck, I made my way towards the cabin. Approaching the cabin, I saw what appeared to be human footprints in areas where neither Kevin nor I had walked. At that moment, I saw movement in the shrubbery behind the cabin. I looked, and for an instant I could see the outline of a man's face staring back at me before it vanished into the trees. There was an individual present. I yelled out what I observed to Kevin as I hurried to him at the truck. We immediately got into the truck and drove off. We walked slowly in the dark down the dusty road. It was almost impossible to navigate out with just the headlights. It has been a while since then. I never know who the mysterious man was or what he was trying to accomplish. It might have been far worse, or he might have been trying to rob us. I'm still close with Kevin, and we've resolved not to allow this incident keep us from going outside. Next summer, we're organizing a big group river rafting excursion, so at least we'll have numbers on our side if something similar occurs. Summer spent at our property in the woods close to Eureka Springs, Arkansas, were spent by my family. Although we spent the majority of our time in the city, my father felt that it was crucial that we get to see the outdoors. He thought it would instill in us a sense of accountability and environmental care. The drive from Dallas felt like it went on forever. Mom tried her best to keep my brother and I occupied when we were small so that Dad could concentrate on the road. There were more than 10 acres of intact woodland on the property. The lone structure was a tiny, one-room hut with a wood burner for cooking and no running water or power. Additionally, there was an outhouse, though I wouldn't classify that as a structure. My sibling was approximately 9 years old, and I was 11. I was therefore free to wander the property on my own, but my brother had to remain in our parents' line of sight. I used to love going on my own explorations and finding new locations, including caverns, creeks, and once, a hidden waterfall. It was not uncommon for me to vanish for the night on occasion because my parents let me to camp out alone when I wanted to. During one of my forays, I discovered another cabin hidden away in the forest. I think rules are made to be broken, even though I wasn't authorized to leave our property. Despite my curiosity, I knocked on the door. Warm smiles beamed at me from two elderly women. One had a lengthy dressing robe on and was short with a bent back. The other one was taller, wearing a purple cardigan and appearing to be either a teacher or a librarian. "Hello, sweetheart. You must be very far away from your home," remarked one of the women. "Sorry, I was just exploring, and I must be lost," I said. "There is no issue," the other woman said. "Come in." I was glad for a respite after spending hours outside. I informed them about my experiences in the woods while we sat at the table. My stories were probably extremely boring, but the sweet old ladies humored me. After supper, we shared a seat on the couch. Their gorgeous white cat was curled up on my lap. The sun had nearly set, so we must have lost track of time. "You are welcome to spend the night here," one of them said. "I'm sure your parents won't mind." "Well, I guess it's too dark to walk home," I said. I was given a bed, and I fell asleep immediately. They said goodbye to me in the morning, and I headed back home. I reported the incident to my parents. I told them about the two ladies and the cabin, and how nice they had been to me. I even mentioned the white cat to them. They insisted on meeting these women even though they weren't angry. The four of us set off on the arduous journey to the cabin later that day. But when we got there, all we saw was the wreckage of a little cabin that seemed like it had been abandoned for a long time. I was the most perplexed of all the people. When my family noticed something, they were about to dismiss me as a liar. We were shocked as a slender white cat rushed by us and disappeared into the trees. I might never be able to fully describe what transpired that evening. It felt so genuine, sometimes I wonder if it was all just a very vivid dream. Years later, I was looking up information on the abandoned cabin online to see if I could uncover any information. Something appeared in an article. The headline said, "Sisters moved to remote cabin to live off the land." The paper was dated July 1, 1925, and the photo absolutely matched the two elderly ladies.